position as Mayo manager, and he goes on to thank various people. David Brady's with us, Colm Keys is with us. David, I must say, I originally read that as if he was at that meeting and he would have heard what the Mayo Executive Committee were saying about him, but it seems he wasn't at the meeting, but clearly he's heard from someone what was said about him. Is that your understanding of what's going on last night?
I don't know what to understand anymore, Joe. But from what I understand is that there were requests and the questions, and I think the big thing was the request to meet Stephen and his management team to go through whatever it was that the county board wished to discuss, was relayed back to Stephen, and Stephen went, you know what, I think he felt that they hadn't trusted Stephen Rochford, full stop, and he owes nothing to Mayo football. He owes nothing to anyone, and I think it's once again we're becoming. No wonder people love talking about us, because we're becoming an absolute laughingstock, and it's sad to a degree, because you're going. He is one good man, and I don't know whatever was discussed. Now, sometimes when you're meeting, county boards wish to meet management teams, and I think if we go back to a nugget is that when you had Donny Buckley, Peter Burke,
McEntee,
all leaving this year. Well, there is going to be a transition, and maybe your county board want to ask certain questions on your plans and your future ambition and agenda and whatnot. But Stephen Rochford was left in no means in any other way, but there was questions to be asked of a man that, in my mind, has had loads of questions to answer before, but none now.
Yeah, because, fair enough. But does it not strike you, David, as a fairly natural part of a process? Like the Mayo Executive Committee want to sit, and it's a fairly big change, you know, you're losing the backroom staff, the entire backroom staff. Is it that big a deal? Is it that beyond what might be perceived as normal for them to just say, okay, Stephen, can you and Peter Ford and Shane Conway, can you come and meet us and have a chat about the year ahead? I mean, if that's the extent of the level of, what does, how does Rochford put it? He says the desired level of support from his manager was not forthcoming. I mean, if that's the extent of it, that's not that bad, surely.
It's not. That's not the extent of it. There's no way. There's no way that could be the extent of it. Because yes, you would have these conversations to a degree. I know that the Mayo account, like, Jesus, we have. Hey, forget about the Pope yesterday. One of the biggest announcements about the future Mayo football was the Centre of Excellence in Loughlin in conjunction with the Mayo County Council last week. That should be the headlines. That's the way forward. But again, you do want to know a certain. Well, I suppose they know Stephen Rochford. I think if you go back, and it's a small nugget, I think it was kind of wrong that the way the inclusion of Peter Ford and Shane Conway was announced. It was announced, and these are two managers of a club in Castlebar, and I think that could have been the start of it as well. It was announced without their actual club that they were managing, from what I know, and been informed.
Without who been informed, sorry?
The actual players from Brady, or the Brady management, or the management committee. You're going, it's steamrolled from that to a degree, but Stephen Rochford.
You're saying the new backroom staff, Peter Ford, Conway, that was announced without the county board knowing?
I don't know. I don't think the county board knew, and I don't think the management of Brady knew either.
Right.
So their club managers of Brady, they were playing a championship game at the weekend against Ballintubber. But you're just going, right, maybe
wouldn't that strengthen the argument that the county board are entitled to say, well, let's have a chat about this, Stephen?
Well, probably to a degree, yeah. But you know what, Joe? This is not just on that, and it can't be. There's no way. Yeah. We're stupid. We're naive. And we sometimes we shoot ourselves in the foot in Mayo, but this is not just about that one incident or one question or one kind of framework that wants to be developed and discussed.
Yeah, okay.
There's more there. And it has
Stay with us a second. Yeah, no, I would think it has to be as well. Colm Keys from the Irish Independent is with us. Colm, I would think that, when Rochford talks about the meeting last night not having the desired level of support and therefore you feel he has to resign, I would presume that's about more than the county board executive committee wanting to sit down with their new backroom staff.
Well, the key thing is that neither of the new selectors, the last night's statement didn't actually say that they had been ratified. Mm-hmm. So that to me was a key thing. Surely the meeting, surely the proposal was made and that this meeting was designed to ratify, because Stephen Rochford did have a meeting with the county board chairman last week, and he also met with some of the players. And one of the things that struck me was the imposition of a deadline being put on Stephen Rochford to have his management team in place August 31st. That this was expected. Now, for a guy that's been there 3 years and his management team was only confirmed around the beginning of August that they would be going. That seemed altogether very, very quick, and it seemed to me to be an imposition. And I feel he's probably been boxed into a corner really since Newbridge. I think he's probably right that the level of support just hasn't been there, and it's been slowly becoming apparent that support just has not been there. And even the choice of language, like that the office of the county board have been authorised to speak to him this week. Well, I would think that was a natural process, yes, but it's just the way that it came out, and that the new management team, they were not acknowledged that they were ratified. So that certainly struck me as being something.
Yeah. David, have you any thoughts on what Colm, I think, rightly says is maybe a needless imposition on Rochford, as in when the McEntee, Peter Burke, Donny Buckley group leave, that he has to put in place a new backroom staff by August 31st, when, frankly, there's no real need to have it done that quickly. Like, what was the logic there, I wonder?
Again, it's August 31st. Now, the way modern day football evolves, yes, you have to have put so much planning from your backroom team into the new year. But I can tell you, Joe, that if someone approaches you to be a club selector, you'll think long and bloody hard about it. And you'll speak to the people you're associated, whether it's your wife or your work, and you step back and say, can I give that commitment? Now, the commitment is tenfold from a county selector basis, and you're going, there was something brewing when there's like the date August was the 31st. It was you're going, Jesus, that's not a date, that's a deadline. And maybe Stephen did approach one or two others, and that the county board kind of said, well, he's finding it hard. Any manager finds it hard to fill a team, but it's the right team. And Stephen Rochford himself probably said, you know what, I want to get someone that is like, for someone like Peter Ford, if Peter did commit fully, like he's a proven track record from a manager's perspective, as in experience-wise. He's definitely a proven track record as a county's winning manager. But it's the time you're going, you know what, I need 2 or 3 weeks to think about this. Did Stephen say, look, guys, this is the 31st is not feasible, it's not doable, and it's not justifiable for people to give me an answer within 2 or 3 weeks? Because you said Donny, McEntee and Peter Burke was all in the space of 3 or 4 weeks. But you know what? It's the county board. The county board in Mayo are classed as one person, the devil. And if you go back to and it's not just, there's different chairmen, there's different people, but it's you go back to the Kevin McStay and the Kevin scenario when he was the phone call. Well, he wouldn't be interviewed if and let's be honest, if Liam McCabe was part of his management setup, and you go, we've been down this road so many bloody times before.
Yeah.
And again, who's going to be the new Mayo manager? You're going to go, you know what? If you want someone that is intelligent, and you want someone that is articulate and driven and passionate and very, very trusting, people might say, you know what? That job isn't for me.
Yes, you share, like, it's not difficult to make a manager feel wanted. I mean, it's very, very easy for a county board to do that. Do you share Colm's sense that post-Newbridge, and remember, so Rochford in October last year, fresh from an All-Ireland final defeat by the narrowest of margins, was given a 2-year extension. But is your sense that post-Newbridge or nowhere territory, that they've lost faith in Rochford and they've been lukewarm with him and let him know that they're not so hot on him, and maybe it's in the hope that he would resign? Is that your analysis of what's happened here, or has Rochford jumped the gun a bit or misread the signals?
No, I think that's what you've said, Joe. encapsulated it all.
So they're less keen on him since the Newbridge defeat.
Yes, and probably, you know what? It wasn't the way. It wasn't what Mayo have delivered in the past. It wasn't what Mayo. Stephen Rochford hasn't delivered any silverware, but by Jesus, I don't think there's a man on this earth that would have delivered what he's, as much he's delivered from regards the All Ireland final last year. That was. You know what? There was a major mistake from the year previous. Yes, people make mistakes, but you learn from them, and I think he has learned. But if you don't have silverware and you don't have power, well, then the control is taken off you. And it works in boardrooms, companies, and inter-county teams. But again, if you sense, because you cannot look back and say, I bloody knew it. I knew it in the last few days of August that I wasn't trusted. And there were questions, because them questions can develop into an absolute avalanche come the middle of the championship or the middle of the league when it's disastrous.
Yeah, Colm Keys from the Irish Independent still with us. Colm, is it your sense this is almost something approaching constructive dismissal, or may Rochford have got the wrong end of the stick here?
I think he has got the... No, sorry. I think he would have had a very, very good sense and a very good feel for it since Newbridge. I think any manager would. How quickly has anyone contacted to say, well, how are you feeling after it? All of that. And a manager will get that sense. And I suppose, when you have Donny Buckley and Tony McEntee and Peter Burke, certainly Donny and Peter Burke had been around a while, and Tony McEntee, quite a high-profile, strong management team that Stephen put around him in the initial, and really helped to launch his inter-county career with Mayo in that sense. When they go, there probably was a sense that he's a little bit more vulnerable here, and that he will do very, very well to replace like for like with the calibre of person that was there. So that initially would have been it. I know that I read somewhere, I think in one of the local papers, where one of the county board officers was even suggesting that there should be change in personnel, more youth. And while that is something that I think everyone would agree for Mayo, that the progression of youth should have come quicker, it was unusual to see a county board officer just making those remarks in public. So I feel there's just been, it's almost been death by 1,000 cuts in some way for Stephen, and I think he would have got a strong sense of it, and certainly got a very strong sense of it with the tweet that was put out. You would have to ask, well, was there need for a tweet to be put out so publicly like that to say, well, what our next step is? And you just wonder about that. I mean, even 2 weeks ago, Jim McGuinness's name was being floated quite publicly. That if a vacancy arose, now obviously that's not coming from the board, but this develops in a vacuum like that. This develops, and I think Stephen at that point had already indicated anyway to the board, look, there won't be a vacancy because I'm interested in continuing on. So you just wonder what's at play here. I think he will have got a strong sense. He will have got a strong sense over the last week. In meeting board officers and in general conversation, what sort of ground is he on?
It's quite a messy way to do business, isn't it, Colm?
I think so. I think if he wasn't wanted, he should have been indicated to him a lot earlier. But having said that, he was given an extension after last year. I mean, last October, he was given a lot of time. There was no deadlines put on him last October. And I think it went right up to Halloween before he finally confirmed, yes, I'm there, and he was given a 3-year extension at that point.
Yeah.
But within, 8 months, Mayo are out of the championship. That seems to have changed. Yeah. So there was no issue with a deadline last October, but August 31st crept up pretty quick for this business to be done, the management team to be completed. And look, maybe there's nothing in that. Maybe that's just been said. But I just found it unusual that a deadline would be put out there in the public domain at a county board meeting for the completion of a management team, especially a man that has managed Mayo to 2 All-Ireland finals, got within a point both times and drew it. So you would think that he would be in a much stronger position and have that time to put things in place and to do it carefully.
Can I come in, Joe?
Yeah, you wanted to come in, yeah.
And you know what? I would have an insight, very minuscule, of what the personal circumstances and sacrifices from people I know at the coalface, the sacrifices that Stephen Rochford has made. Beyond the call of duty and to the detriment of the family time, and there was so many hills he had to climb. But I would say give Stephen space. But I'm asking the likes of James, because if you look back, James Horan was in this situation 3 years ago, was it? Will he, won't he? There's rumours that this whole power broken, like to and froing and giving and taking and demanding and not getting. James had come back off the back of an All-Ireland defeat, which you actually get some credit for in a bargain in terms. But Stephen had no chips in the table in the last few days, and that was one that the time was running out. There shouldn't have been a deadline. Now, did he ask for one? He should have asked for one, but he knew himself when he looked at his cards. They were maybe fixed.
What names are on people's lips then to replace Rochford, David?
Oh Jesus, Pope Francis. It's becoming an absolute. It's becoming a joke, and I won't. At this juncture, it's not a time for naming names. But I can tell you, Jim McGuinness is anywhere next now associated with Mayo football. I know that, and going forward, what Mayo need.
How do you know that? Sorry.
How do I know that? Because Mayo's next appointment will be for someone that is there to develop and needs to be developing Mayo football, not just for the next 6 months or 12 months. I think Mayo need to step back away from saying we want to win on Ireland. We want to do the very best we can. We want to put everything in place to win it, but the structures need to be there. And I think it's not because the name Jim McGuinness, but I think a guy coming into town, all guns blazing, is not what Mayo need. We need a plan, and we need someone that's going to be there for the next 3 or 4 years. But that's never guaranteed in Mayo football. You have good men. You have good men there. And I'd ask you the next time you ask James Horan, to ask him what was the real story, because the longer that Mayo managers keep their lips sealed and are afraid to really reveal the truth, well, the longer this will continue.
Well, hang on, that's a big statement to make. So that suggests the county board are not up to it.
Well, I'm not saying the county, because the county board is a word. It means it's an amalgamation of people at the top table. Now, there's different people, different chairmen, like between Stephen Rochford's time and James Horan's time. You know, you're saying to yourself, if it's allowed, if there's something rotten in the state of Denmark, it needs to be pointed out. Mm-hmm. Because otherwise, yes, the county board are going to get the blame. But if you don't point it out and you don't tell us what's wrong, you don't say what's wrong and prove it, well, then it's always going to continue.
Yeah, you're talking like a man who knows exactly what's wrong, though.
I do, but I can't fix it.
So is it the county board or is it not the county board?
I don't have any personal experience. I haven't been a Mayo manager. But you know what Stephen Rochford has? James Horan has. And you know what? If I was a Mayo manager and I had previous experience, I'd tell you straight out and the truth, because that's what the county needs. We don't need ad lib. We don't need this. You're saying right that someone make a stand if it's wrong, and if it's not, let's carry on.
I don't think you have to worry about being Mayo manager anytime just yet, but
no.
Keep the phone on. Colm, any words floating around in the Irish Independent tomorrow? Or names, rather, as opposed to words?
Look, I think James Horan might be tempted by it. I just feel he still has a strong rapport with the core base of players that are there, so it might tempt him to go back. Whether he would be the acceptable face for the county board, I really don't know, but he could be tempted back. He might sense some unfinished business. Whether the capacity is there to finish that business, I don't know.
Yeah.
But he may be tempted by it. And obviously Mayo reached an All-Ireland under-20 final there, so something could come from out of that.
Yeah. One last question to you both. Jump in if you know the answer. If you don't, then we'll leave it at that. But it was noticeable that the Mayo County Board met with players last week. And obviously there's some senior players for them, I think. And that would be a very natural thing as well. I'm sure it happens at the end of most seasons. But it's maybe coincidental, maybe not. Do we know, are the players fully behind Rochford? Do we know that for sure? Because they haven't been afraid to get rid of management teams in the past. Maybe they've had a part to play in a more subtle way this time around. Do we know where the players stand with Rochford? Do either of you know?
I do. I know they're 100% behind Stephen Rochford.
Okay. Have you heard
I'm
similar,
sure
Colm?
in a group of 30 plus players, some wouldn't have been in favour and might have preferred change. That's natural in any setup of that size. But I don't think, obviously, after what happened 3 years ago, the players were never going to be put. And probably the momentum wasn't there among enough. But I don't think that was probably the biggest factor by any stretch. Obviously, some would be in favour, would like to see a change, and many more wouldn't.
Okay. Colm Keys from the Irish Independent. David Brady, thanks very much, lads. Appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Off the Ball on News Talk.
Easy parking with Easy Trip. Now available at Dundrum Town Centre. So you can now use your toll tags to park in our car parks. Simply register at easytrip.ie/parking. Easy parking with Easy Trip. Dundrum, where more happens.
When was the last time you switched your home insurance? Visit chill.ie to search leading insurers and save. Chill Insurance Limited, trading as Chill Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Looking for an amazing, affordable place to stay in Galway this summer? Then book into Sweet Bohermore. Self-catering and one-bed apartments, just 10 minutes walk from Ayr Square. With 24-hour reception and free parking, Sweet Bohermore is the perfect base for the Arts Festival, the Galway races, or just to enjoy the crack. Find us on Facebook at swuite.com.
Off the Ball. This is News Talk.
So, gone way over time again on that, plenty of texts in. I'll get to them after the 8 o'clock news. Kev can come back in as well and give us early impressions of Manchester United 0, Spurs 0 after 2 minutes. Just as events would have it, I don't know what's going on in the stars, maybe it's the Off the Ball kiss of death, but we're doing a show at Croke Park on Thursday. The guest list includes James Horan, Jim McGuinness, Aidan O'Shea. So we'll be talking to them about guess what. And also there, Cora Staunton, who has her own issues with her respective county board. We also have Kieran McGeeney there. What the hell? We'll get his thoughts on everything as well. So it's a brilliant lineup. And we also have Peter Canavan, Keith Barr, because we are looking ahead to what should be a really good game. Well, hopefully it's a good game on Sunday between Dublin and Tyrone. So if you want to come along to that show, it's at Croke Park on Thursday evening. This won't be going out on air. Certainly all of it won't. We may put out a selection on Friday. But if you want to have the full show, then offtheball.com/events. That's where you can get your tickets. offtheball.com/events. And again, it's James Horan, it's Jim McGuinness, it's Aidan O'Shea, it's Cora Staunton, it's Kieran McGeeney, it's Peter Canavan, it's Keith Barr. Really, really good show this Thursday. So tickets are going very, very fast now. So if you want to get the last of the tickets, we're at Croke Park Thursday night. Short break. Monday Night Rugby is going to follow after news. We'll also get Kev back in for, as I said, thoughts on United Spurs.
Join the conversation. Text us on 53106. Texts cost 30 cents.
Great news! We've just won that new contract we've been waiting to hear about.
Means we'll need to hire new staff.
Yeah, and we'll need to purchase new vehicles.
Purchase? Why? When they can all drive a Europe car.
Whatever you need to drive, from vans to cars, Europe Car can provide the vehicles you want with no capital expenditure, no contract, no ties, and on the road tomorrow. Europe Car, moving your way.
Golfers, get custom fitted with TrackMan technology for your new Callaway irons from only $399 in any McGurk's Golf Fitting Centre nationwide. McGurk's Golf. Drive a better bargain.
The Debenhams Spectacular event. Up to 30% off throughout the store and up to 15% off beauty and fragrance. Ends today. Shop at debenhams.ie until midnight.
I hear you some wiring needs a fixing, ma'am. The name's Buzz, on account of my work.
No chance.
Not all cowboys ride horses. If they're not a Safe Electric registered electrical contractor, you're putting yourself at risk and they're breaking the law. Find one nearby on safeelectric.ie.
I needed this van in a hurry. Europe Car did the business.
Europe Car can provide vehicles with no capital expenditure, no contract, no ties, and on the road tomorrow. Europe Car, moving your way.
On 106 to 108 FM and at newstalk.com. This is News Talk.
Good evening, I'm Tom Swift. The Irish Council for Civil Liberties says government proposals to monitor social media need to be tightly regulated. The Department of Social Protection has asked companies to submit tenders for a service that will look at the use of a number of key words. It says there's no guarantee that it will go ahead with the monitoring, but if it does, it would be fully compliant with all privacy laws. Elizabeth Farries from the ICCL says we need to keep a close eye on it.
We have to make sure that these actions are in line with the general data protection regulations, and we need to ensure that there is a correct and independent oversight body to ensure that happens.
The US and Mexico have announced a new trade deal. It will replace the existing NAFTA agreement, which Donald Trump's previously called a bad deal. It comes despite ongoing tension over President Trump's plan for a wall on the Mexican border. To mark the breakthrough, President Trump took a phone call from Mexican President Enrique Peña Nieto.
Well, your brilliant representatives are sitting right in front of me, and I thought we would congratulate each other before it got out.
Creo que este es algo muy positivo para. I think this is something very positive para Estados Unidos y para México. For the United States and Mexico.
The Criminal Assets Bureau has seized financial documents, hard drives and mobile phones during a raid in Dublin. The operation was targeting the operations of organised crime gangs involved in drug dealing. Officers backed up by the Armed Support Unit conducted the search at 2 houses in Dublin 15. No arrests were made. Dublin's Phoenix Park has now reopened to the public after yesterday's papal mass following a mammoth clean-up. The park opened 15 hours ahead of schedule today at 4 p.m. after more than 200 litter pickers worked through the night clearing public routes.
News Talk Weather.
Thanks to Des Kelly Interiors. Now with more choice than ever in wood flooring. Still at the lowest prices at the new look Des Kelly Interiors.
Dry tonight with long clear spells and a few mist patches. Lowest temperatures 7 to 12 degrees. A wet day tomorrow for the west and northwest, but dry and bright elsewhere. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Talking rugby in a few moments with Rory O'Connor. We'll get the updates from Richie and everything going on in the world of sport in a moment as well. Kev is watching United Spurs. 8 minutes gone, Old Trafford. Any early impressions? No goals yet?
No, it's something that Richie touched on earlier on, which was maybe a slight surprise with the system that United have put in place. We thought it could be Matic that's playing in the back three. It's actually Ander Herrera he's playing right side centre half at the moment, Joe, in a back three with Smalling and Jones. But what he's kind of, it looks to me like in straight away, it's the channel that Harry Kane will be getting into as well. Even Dele Alli will be making that inside left channel. It's almost as if he's trying to pick up one of those runs from deep.
Comes into his area,
more so Ali, I think, in general, that's pulling into that sort of area. So change of system from Mourinho and for United tonight in general. Very even at the start of the game. No real chances of note, but it's certainly a change of ethos, change of thought for Mourinho tonight.
Yeah, nice to see Jose flexing his tactical acumen for once and doing something a bit different, because I mean, look, he was so brilliant for so long at this kind of stuff, and coming up with these plans to neutralise opposition.
I think in general it's these top 6 games that he's thrived on in years, hasn't he? Or against the better teams. That is the one thing where he's always had the edge over the managers, over the teams that he's...
chance Lucas Moura could try and engineer something originally, but cleared by United. Danny Rose unable to get anything on the ball there.
Yeah, it is, good chance. I think it was Danny Rose coming at the far post just trying to make it up. But yeah, it's these games where a tactical change within the match. Ander Herrera's had that job. I mean, if anyone remembers 2 seasons ago when Chelsea won the league, even last season, had the man marking job on Eden Hazard, and it seems to be, if he's going to make any sort of change within the system of the side, it's Ander Herrera that's sacrificed to do some sort of specific role.
Yeah, okay. Richie, what else going
on? Holders Cork City drawn away to Longford in the quarter-finals of the FAI Cup tonight. Dundalk also will be on the road, making the trip to Limerick. Perhaps tie the round is a repeat of the 2008 final, a day when Bows secured the double. They've been drawn away to Derry City.
Couldn't wait to get that out, could you?
Well, sure, look. And Waterford, they will play host to UCD. Now, Martin O'Neill, meanwhile, says he's done all he can to sell the Republic of Ireland to Declan Rice. The West Ham teenager today left out of the Republic of Ireland squad, named for the nation's league opener with Wales and the friendly with Poland. Munster have announced the signing of former All Black scrum half Albie Mathewson, the 32-year-old, a short-term signing to cover the absence of Conor Murray, who missed the start of the season and could miss their opening Champions Cup pool games. He's managing a neck injury, is Murray, and could be out until late October. Top seed Simona Halep suffered a first-round exit at the US Open this evening, beaten in straight sets by world number 44 Kaya Kanepi. Andy Murray also in first-round action